We'll call the meeting to order. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, all members are present. Approval of the agenda. We have one addition, 7F, EMT appointments. And then when we get down to the consent agenda, there will be a numbers change when it comes to the paid claims. So, is there any other changes? Council? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda with that change?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Joe. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Shallon.
Yeah.
You were louder. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Approval of the minutes of the May 3rd, 2023 regular meeting. I'll receive them in your packet. Is there any changes, corrections, or clarification needed?
Maybe change the date on the front of it.
That's in the front
I
of the
don't
computer,
like
it's okay.
Sorry.
Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
No, second.
Motion by Heidi, second by Diane. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. This now brings us to our public open forum. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to the council? Is there anyone that would like to speak to the council? Is there anyone that would like to speak to the council? Our public open forum is now closed. We have no public hearings. We will now move on to reports and presentations. Police Department monthly report. Brian?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Activity report for April 2023. Some of the numbers we had, had 10 alarm calls. We did 17 citizen contacts. We had 19 door checks. We did 48 foot patrol, 25 medicals. We had 237 traffic stops. We had 40 patrols at the school. We had 7 welfare checks. We had 33 assists for other agencies, 30 matter of information calls, 24 citations for driving with no license, and 4 trespass citations for a total of 714 activity. And compare that to 2022, we were down 43, and compare it to last month, we were down 59. So summer starting now, we're directing our patrols to the campgrounds and parks and trails and alleys and stuff like that where people lurk and move during the night. So that's kind of where we're at now. So.
Okay. Any questions, comments?
Good job.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Public Works monthly report. Ben?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This past month for road work, potholes are a known issue. They're all over town, as everyone is well aware, I'm sure. We have hauled in place 55 tons of tar so far, and this has mostly been in the area of 8th, 7th, and 6th Street between Main and Ash. And 2 days this week we weren't able to patch since product wasn't available from the asphalt plants. So we're going to continue to get across all the streets in the coming weeks as we can get material, but we're kind of at the mercy of the asphalt plants making product for us. So whenever we can, we will be patching, but just those 3 streets took a lot of tar and a lot of time to get those covered. Street sweeping, all the streets have seen 1 pass, and then we'll start to go over areas that need a little additional attention and cleanup. The water has been turned on to all the parks and bathrooms. That's all working. We built a shed pad up at the arena. Baseball Association bought a shed for some storage up there by the ball field, so that was done, and they brought their shed in. We ran some new sprinkler lines by the splash pad where they were cut during the construction of the trail along Hickman last year. We did install the docks throughout the parks. The fishing pier that was hung up on the shoreline after that ice had hit it is awaiting repairs right now. We have talked to the DNR to kind of go in together on that because it's if you haven't been up close to it, it did tweak a lot of the frame where it teased together at the very end of it, so it's going to need a fair amount of repairs. So we're working with them to kind of figure out a plan and a timeline, but we just don't have that yet, so it's certainly going to be a while before we can get that back into place and usable again. Sidewalk inspections, last year after the contractor gave his survey results, it was decided to divide the repairs into a 2-year project. The list remaining from last year was resurveyed just to note any minor changes or corrections that might need to be made before sending out the updated notices to the homeowners. So that has been completed, and now that we have that information, we will send out the new notices for 2023 to have that remaining section of town completed. The last section is kind of basically Sinclair Lewis Avenue and then west of Highway 71. So that'll clean up the big stuff, and then in the following years, it should be much smaller portions that need to be done. So that's kind of been the major stuff in the past month for us. Any questions?
I haven't been to the park. Is the pier being blocked off, or?
Yes, it's actually like spun around, so the ramp is out in the lake.
Okay,
And the railing is up against the shore. You'd have to walk through the water
okay.
to get to it. Yep.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Thank you.
Thanks.
City Engineer Keith?
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll give you a little update on projects out here. I'm going to go kind of from, well, in the order that they are listed here, I guess, oldest to newest. We actually do have some progress finally on Aerosmith. There was a dispute out there regarding some seeding and restoration, and that has been resolved now between the contractor and their sub-consultants, or their sub. So that is finally done. I finally got the one IC-134s, which we need to finalize the project out. So we'll be doing that. You'll probably see that perhaps at your next council meeting or one after at the latest probably, so we can finally get that one behind us. South Industrial Park, we have gone through punch list. There are some remaining items to repair out there. There's some settlements that have occurred around some of the larger structures. Even around the lift station, there's been a little bit of settlement, so there's some things to repair out there. We'll have to make sure that the seating is coming up appropriately, so we'll probably wait another week or so to see how that's coming about. Probably some reseeding, I would guess, in some areas out there, and then it'll be final wear course paving, which will be the first half of June. We really don't want to do wear course until when it's a little bit warmer, so we don't really like to do it in May. So, plus, as Ben was just saying, things are just starting up for plants, so usually you kind of let them get up and get running. So that's where that progress is at up there. There's a lift station out there that will be, we finally got all the paperwork, everything we need to do the official startup and get it up and running and turned over to the PUC for that. Second Street project, that project is most of the punch list items have all been now completed, including there was some concrete work you might remember that got rained on, it had to get redone, and most all that's been taken care of. Restoration on some of the sites that weren't growing and those kinds of things been taken care of for the most part. I think there's a couple left. And then it's wear course paving, which once again will be the first half of June when those will occur for the paving out there. So that's probably happened about the same time. It's the same paving contractor at South Industrial Park and the Second Street. So it will likely be the same period. They'll just do one and then the other. So that's what's expected there. Author's Edition is out and running. Most all of the grading work has been completed at this point. All that clearing and grubbing beginning, that's been completed. So starting to look for pipe work at this point. Pipe work is probably going to be a couple weeks off yet. We kind of missed a window. The grading went a little longer than planned. They kind of missed a window for getting a pipe crew in. So I talked to them today, and it looks like it'll be probably 2 full weeks before they actually come back and start on pipe work out there, so there might be a little delay that you'll see out there for that. But that's kind of where that's at. You do have a pay request for that job in your action items, and that's for about half of the grading work and some of the clearing and grubbing kind of work is what that pay request entails in general. So, any questions you have for me?
The only question I've got, I had one concern, and it just came in tonight. How deep is that ditch or that's taking the water, that waterway that goes to that pond that's behind the houses on Hickman?
So kind of on the east side of it, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it'd be the west side. Well, the east side of the project, but it'd be,
The backside of the
Right.
existing lots there, yeah. That should be pretty well done at this point, what's been
How deep
graded
is
back
it?
there. I'm going from memory here, but I'm thinking
yeah, I
it's
didn't look at the,
6 feet maybe at the most. It's less on the south end and a little bit greater as you go to the north through
I
there.
had just
but-
one concern why it was so deep.
Well, it kind of has to be in order to get, I wanted to have enough, there's kind of a minimum slope going forward, so I want to make sure that we drain the water out of there. And we had to have it deep enough on the south end so that we've got some water that runs kind of around, if you will, the new home pads and then goes north. So had to make it deep enough for that and then to drain it to that north.
Okay.
So, okay, anything else?
Anyone else? Okay, thank you, Keith.
Thank you.
Action items, approved chamber requests for Sinclair Lewis Days, including parade route.
So this is for Sinclair Lewis Days, as you said, and we've got several items that they're requesting approval of. The DJ on the trailer by the shelter for the kids, and the band in the band shell for adults, with the beer garden provided by the American Legion, and then pontoon and boat parade. So that, for that item, they're looking to close Park Road and the use of Sinclair Lewis Park on Friday, July 14th at 5 p.m. to dusk. The food vendors, the use of Sinclair Lewis parking lot on Friday, July 14th from 5 p.m. to dusk. Fireworks, close Park Road and the boat landing for the fireworks permit Friday, July 14th, 6 p.m. to dusk. This is all part of that same Friday night event. Crazy Days, use of downtown sidewalks on Saturday, July 15th. And then the Craft Fair and Family Fun Festival, close Park Road and the use of Sinclair Lewis Park in the parking lot on Saturday, July 15th from 7:30 to 4. And then we have the chip timed 5K and 1 mile run, start and finish by the swings and the playground equipment, use of trail and close one lane on Hickman Drive and Lakeview Drive on Saturday, July 15th from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. So hopefully I'll be running on new tar that day. And then approval of the parade route from Industrial Park, Sinclair Lewis Avenue, Elm, 6th, Getty, 10th, Civic Arena, the same route that they have done for years, on Saturday, July 15th at 7 p.m. So these are all the uses of the city facilities that they're requesting. So the action is to approve the uses as requested, including the road closures and the parade route.
Questions? All of these events are all the same thing they've had for the last couple of years, it's just
Yes.
the dates have changed.
Yep.
Okay. Any comments or questions? Do I have a motion to approve the uses as requested?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Joe, second by Diane. Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7B, approved pay request number 1, authors edition.
As Keith stated, pay request number 1 has been submitted for payment to Keekly Underground, Inc. for the 2023 Authors Edition project. As you know, the contract amount that you had previously approved is $1,334,774.58. As of the date of this pay request, the value completed is $144,665.88. We do retain a 5% retainage, leaving a balance to be paid of $137,432.59. So what we're looking to do tonight is to approve pay request number 1 to Keekly Underground for $137,432.59. And this is through May 5th, so there's been a lot of work done in the last couple weeks, but this is up and through that date.
Questions, concerns? Otherwise, do I have a motion to approve the pay request number 1?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Motion by Shallen, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Heidi. Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7C, approve appointment of patrol officer.
So we did an interview for an applicant for the police patrol officer position, and we're recommending that Austin Kowski be appointed to the full-time position following the passage of his post-exam and background check, and he would start at step 1. So the request is for that appointment to Austin Kowski contingent upon a positive background check and passage of his post-exam.
Questions, comments? Do I have a motion to appoint Austin Kowski?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Diane, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Joe. Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7D, approve resolution 2023-33, accepting quote for trail projects.
This is the trail rehab project that you previously tabled to have Ben give you some more information on that. So we'll have him come up and talk about that.
So I wasn't at the last meeting to catch all the discussion that you guys had on that, but this trail project, as you're aware of the locations of each of them, kind of where it came from was we redid Park Road, Hickman Drive. We added that new trail by the campground in Hickman Drive. So it kind of sparked it to upgrade that trail along Park Road going all the way out to Ferry Lake Road. And it would tie into the Lake Wobegon Trail that was done in 2019. So just kind of would get everything freshened up to about the same year period with that trail. And then we thought, while we're doing those trails, there's a few others that were on our kind of want list to get done, which was Browns Park and that East River Boulevard Trail. So that's why we roped them all together to do this work. And that's where that kind of came from, I guess, is getting everything up to date, so it's all about the same year period. And the trail going out to Ferry Lake Road is in pretty tough shape. I mean, it's kind of past the point of rollerbladers being able to use it. It's certainly fine for a walking path, and bikes can obviously ride on gravel without issue, but there are a lot of people who like to rollerblade and have a nicer, smoother surface, so that was kind of why we started there with that one.
Okay. Is there any, I know snowmobiles running on that in the wintertime.
They do, yep.
Is that anything that they're gonna donate money toward
I
fixing
guess
that?
I did not reach out to them about that.
Because part of it, I'm pretty sure, is from the carbides on the skis and studs. You know, they're not supposed to be any studs, but the carbides tear up tar pretty fast. So,
To prove it or not would be another story, which I think that the
Right.
snow cleats would probably dispute because they do groom it and pay money to groom it. I just feel like maybe it got beyond what we had originally intended. So to see what the original focus would be without the extra is a consideration. I know we had discussed that the last time.
right. Because what do we have in the budget for this?
160,000 is what's
Okay.
budgeted.
Does that also include our seal coat and
That is part of
everything
that.
for the streets?
Money, yes.
So we're using 100, say possibly 120 some thousand of that, 160 just for these trails. And we just got done saying we got streets with potholes. And they're getting worse. That's my point. It's just, more people are driving on our streets than they're walking down them trails.
I've got CV joints going out right now because of 8th Street, so I don't want to get a little
They
anal
fixed
about
that
that,
one,
but
Heidi. They fixed that pothole. I talked to Ben and he fixed it. Thank you, Ben. Did a
8th
great
Street was
job.
brutal, Heidi.
It
8th
was.
Street was,
That's-
yeah,
That was
Yeah.
patched twice with cold mix this winter. That just doesn't
I
hold as
know.
well.
Right. So, to stay on subject, anyone else have any comments as far as the trails and,
Yeah, it's tough because obviously, like Ben said, the Wobegon Trail, needs to be done. But this winter was brutal on roads. You've seen it, read about it in other communities as well. And so it is really begs the question where we better allocating that $160,000 budget to maintain the roads and keep those, because like you mentioned, Warren, more people are utilizing that, and that's a big part of, you know, keeping the community nice, keeping our vehicles, you know, having repairs. So, yeah, I mean, they're all needs, you know, so it's a matter of allocating where is it more needed.
I agree with Joe, and I agree with you too, Mayor, so I'd rather see it put in the streets.
A mill and overlay, it might be tough to pull all that together this year, but we can see what we can do, of course, if that's your wishes. Certainly, we can get crack filling and seal coating on something, I would think, before fall is over. But I don't know what the bid numbers are. It depends how busy contractors are. They might be a little higher than if we'd have bid it this spring.
Right.
But
And I know A Street's probably, you know, just as an example, that's heavily traveled going to the school,
School,
you
yeah.
know? And we were gonna save that one block on both sides of Main Street. So, and include that into the Main Street project, but our state keeps moving it back, so now we got repairs.
Well,
Are
where do we,
those- Go ahead.
I'm just questioning where we sit with the Safe Routes to School projects, because we got certified, we got verified for that before COVID, and then that all got put on hold. And where do we have to re-qualify, or how does that,
So I just got an email last week that Safe Routes to School people are now discontinuing working at home, so they're gonna have a virtual meeting with all of us. But the legislature and what they allocated for Safe Routes to School is more the planning money again and not infrastructure. So
so,
there's likely not gonna be any funding for Safe Routes to School for actual physical work.
so it'd just be engineering fees, basically, to tell us how we
Like the
could.
planning fees, like the last project that we went through to do the plan of where the trails should go and that is kind of the money that they allocated, but we already have that part done.
Yeah,
So I'll see when they get the final tax bill approved by the governor, what funding might be there for Safe Routes to School. That's not gonna help the street surface.
no,
But.
I just
and-
was
and it's-
curious.
It's very limited in the areas. It wouldn't be any, it probably would not apply to like this park project. You know, because we've got the Wobegon Spur, which is the one, then we've got the Browns, which is really more because of handicap accessibility, because of the new bathroom and everything. And then, of course, the other one simply because of more children living in the neighborhood. So as far as Safe Routes applying to any of these, it's probably unlikely. But for doing alongside of 8th Street, it might be,
Yeah,
if they would fund infrastructure, but they're not at this point. So,
I guess that asks another question. Are there other grant funds available that we could look at for ADA accessibility for parks? I know with this new, you know, everything that just passed legislature, there's lots of like different monies allocated with education and disabilities and all sorts of things, but is it something that we've looked at or could we look at?
at the ADA accessibility part of it, well, again, once they pass the bill, we'll see what funding is there, and then everybody scrambles for it. So
Right,
there's not, at this point, that I'm aware of, and there could be a program that would actually fund that for streets. Like a lot of the sidewalk work that we're doing, like on Main Street, is based on accessibility mandate on the sidewalks. And so if that mandate, you know, we're required to do like the, 1/4-inch lift type offsets on our sidewalks, but we haven't really been mandated to do it. And usually once there's a mandate, that's when they throw the grant funds
Right.
out there.
okay,
So I'll look at it again when the bill does finally pass and get signed and see what's out there. But it's changing every day, so.
With our past budget, Ben, we've been able to maybe do what, 4 blocks?
about 4, yes.
Yeah, so now if we spend this on trails, we're gonna have $30,000-$40,000, when we used to have $100,000 and get 4 blocks, now we're gonna get 1 block. That's all you're gonna have left for money. And I don't see a company coming in to do anything for a 1-block job. So that's the point I'm making. Is it that vital?
And there's certainly roads that can be done that don't have sewer and water in them, but like 8th Street is one where it wouldn't be a candidate for just doing a mill and overlay because it needs a full reconstruct done on
Right.
it. So just
Yeah.
something to keep in mind.
So I guess it's up to the council. What's your wishes? You want to,
What would be your main roads for whether it be crack sealing those things or like a mill and overlay, which would be our targets for that?
I think I would probably focus on getting some cracks filled. There's some roads that are in that 20-year-old range that haven't seen a crack fill yet.
So which, do you know those offhand?
I mean, like by Browns Park, 7th Street, that's one of
Okay.
them in that area. Eastview Drive could use it. 5th Street could use it. So there's several.
Right in that area.
that could be touched up.
and he just pointed out, that Browns Park area is one of them, but then we're gonna put a trail there instead of fix the roads. That,
Yeah.
it's kind of contradictory.
Well, not to say that anybody accessing is going to be using 100% their abilities to get there. So bring a car, get out of your car, and use a trail to get to the park if it's accessible. I understand that point. I also think that we could limp along, and I don't mean that like, I think you know what I'm saying. I feel like maybe let's wait for, I don't want to say like for the ground to pull out from under us, but if there is a bigger problem next year, that we have the funds available. Just because I feel like we've been trying to meet the needs and falling behind every year. So the bigger projects, I feel are going to need more of our funding to be pulled back and not spent because it's going to come.
I agree.
Okay? So what decision does the council?
Here's a question I guess I would ask. I mean, not using the whole piece, I think, is where the discussion is going. I mean, would there be some sort of a middle ground on it? Because I see the benefit of having, your trails and stuff maintained. I mean, I'm a heavy user of some of the sidewalks and trails throughout town. So that's maybe just my perspective, but some of them are in pretty rough shape. So to ignore those and keep putting them off, I mean, are you discouraging people in your campground from getting downtown to come visit some of our local businesses, or people to enjoy some of the other things that aren't necessarily on the roads, with traffic itself? So I guess that would be my concern. I know that Wobegon Trail one, the spur is, it was, parts of it were taken out last year with the construction, correct? Or was that all kind of?
The ends were taken out and redone, yes.
But that is in pretty rough shape over there. And I don't know.
I see your point. I also think about how many people are utilizing this where the road condition actually becomes detrimental. So bikers and rollerbladers primarily is what I'm thinking. But if I know I live within view of the people who use the trail from my house, and primarily I see walkers. It maybe is half and half walkers and bikers, but I see primarily walkers, which I don't think the trail condition, and given I'm at a point where the condition of the trail might not be as bad as the spur or leading up to Fair Lake Road or beyond, but I don't think that it's necessarily required to the point that we need to do something now. And I do see your point, Shallon, and yes, I think that there could be a middle ground, but to what extent and which locations? So I don't know if we can pull this back and then reevaluate which. I know that section 1 or the, what was it? Option 1, alternate 1. So total bid for trail, and then there's alternate 1, and then total. So we had the lowest bid. I'm just rereading this again, I'm sorry. If you want to explain it just to,
So the first column, total bid for trail, would be redoing the spur, Browns Park, and then the East River Boulevard connection trail. Those three would get paved. The alternate one is for the skate park, basketball, court combination.
so there's not even an option to pull back on even the spur and just do Browns Park.
They weren't bid separately.
They weren't bids.
No.
I would like to point out that down in the cities, people are actually suing the government for wrecking their cars in those potholes. I don't want to see that here. I think we need to take care of our streets, number one. And I know that pothole you were talking about, Ben has fixed that. That was a really deep one. And I could hear the cars hit it at night, and I thought, man, they busted an axle on that one. There was a yellow Volkswagen at the
So-
bottom of one of them holes. It was that deep.
We'll stay on.
Okay.
So what's the council's wishes?
With the remainder, Ben, of what wouldn't be used with the, how much could you still use with that to address some of the concerns that,
If we put that just into crack fill, for instance, I mean, I haven't seen this year's prices, but kind of compared to last year, I would anticipate you could do in $30,000, probably 12 blocks of road crack filled, roughly,
That's just crack fill.
not seal coated.
That's nothing else. And if we wanted an example, of roads falling apart, it was until last year when we did Hickman Drive. There wasn't anybody that could rollerblade or ride a bike even to get to the splash pad.
That was probably a whole nother
On
story.
Hickman, and that took like 15 years before that ever even got fixed, so a trail that's starting to fall apart really isn't in comparison, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, we know we got needs regardless. I mean, whether it's going to need to be done, it's,
They're not
obviously
going
something we need
away.
to talk about from a budget standpoint as we go forward is to make sure our roads and these trails and things are being maintained to the level they're supposed to be. I think we've touched on the priority being the roads need to be addressed, first focus. So, I guess my thought would be we hold off on the trails at this point. So with that being said, I'll make a motion that we decline
Refuse the bids.
or refuse, yeah.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Good
We got a
motion.
motion by Joe, second by Diane, to refuse the bids and not spend the money on the trails. Understand? Okay?
I do have a question though with that. So once that, and maybe this is just me being a little bit naive to this process, but if that isn't used this year, then, that's not something that would be used on roads necessarily right now to do some of those things, or would you still have time to do that this year, or what would your goal be?
I think that we need to move fast and come up with a seal coat and crack fill project and see if we can make that happen yet this year.
But there is a possibility that it wouldn't?
Yeah, I don't know, I guess.
Okay.
But then we could also put those funds towards next year as the savings for your budget from this year,
Carry it over.
carry
next
it
year.
over. So,
And then that would just fall into the same statement that we did at the beginning of the year with the budget, that we were gonna be more fiscally responsible with our budget. Instead
although
of giving things to everybody to walk through the door.
it comes with also the unknowns of what things will cost next year.
Right.
So,
Right. Yeah, nobody's got that
no crystal ball.
crystal ball, right? So, we have a motion and a second. I'll call the question unless there's more discussion.
I guess I just to clarify, I'm probably going to be against. I think we could take a little bit more time and see, what other options Ben even has time to come up with, or if there is something else to be done rather than just denying it outright, holding on.
The only thing is these bids are only good for so long, right? So even if we tabled it and put it off another 2 weeks, eventually these prices aren't gonna be worth the paper they wrote on.
Understood.
So, just so you understand that, so. Okay? We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? Motion carries 4 in favor, 1 against. 7E, approve pricing for authors edition lots.
So at the EDA's regular meeting on May 3rd, the EDA discussed a pricing structure for the Authors Edition lots. They reviewed the costs and also what they believe the lots will sell for based on local area sales. They recommend the pricing structure be set at $48,500. This would include the improvements for the water and the sewer and the street. If the council approves the structure, flyers will be developed for distribution and advertisement. Those that requested to be notified once the lots are available will be notifying them, right away. The uniform vacant land purchase agreement will be utilized. However, any complex terms would be drafted by the city attorney. Once a purchase agreement is signed, it would be sent to the closing company for closing. I did a flyer, I believe I sent it to the finance committee, and about the structure, and we looked at that 48.5, and I think I was saying there's a couple lots that are a little odd shaped, maybe they're a little less, and the nicer, bigger ones are maybe a little more, but we're gonna try to stick with that average cost. And knowing that there's a lot of extra costs on this phase of the project, that hopefully we'll recoup some of that in future phases. And so what we're looking for tonight is just for the council to approve that pricing structure so that we can proceed with starting the marketing plan.
Questions? Concerns?
That's a bargain price. I think that's a good thing to do.
So this price includes all the extra dirt work?
It includes the water and sewer and the assessments, yes. But what do you mean, the extra work?
Well, we did a lot of extra grading and cutting down hills and filling in
This,
a few low spots.
this doesn't 100% cover the cost of phase one by any means.
Okay,
So there's work to be done.
so most of that extra dirt work we did to get this 19 is getting passed on to the future lots
With,
eventually.
there's options to help figure that out, which actually we just the email with funding today, but, or yesterday, I don't remember. We don't have it all figured out, but with the finance committee that we discussed, where we can use money from, this definitely is not 100% covered, but we felt feasible to cover at an affordable rate that people would purchase and we wouldn't sit on lots for too long.
Okay. Any other questions?
If the finance committee is happy with it, I'm happy with it. I'll make a motion that we go with it.
Okay, I have a motion by Diane to approve the pricing structure. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Shallon, a second. Any other discussion? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor.
I'll abstain,
Oh,
being
you
a neighbor there yet.
abstain. 4 in favor, none against, 1 abstention. Sorry, Joe. 7F, EMT appointments.
Kathy Strufert, Ambulance Director, has requested approval of the following appointments to the Ambulance Department. Jessica Eisenbart as a probationary EMT, and that would be a new hire. And then Karen Nelson to be advanced from the probationary EMT to a EMT B1. She has met all the requirements to qualify for that position. So we are requesting to approve the appointment of Jessica Eisenbart as a probationary EMT and advance Karen Nelson from probationary to EMTB Level 1.
Questions, comments? Do I have a motion to approve the appointments?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Joe, second by Diane. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Unfinished business, Nature Energy.
And this I just brought up, just kind of talk about next steps. We had the public meeting on Monday, the second public meeting. And so we had more questions answered for the council and anybody else that was in attendance. And then we talked about the next steps, possibly be talking about the utility needs with the public utility. And that could be something that you could request that we have a joint meeting with them to discuss that. We could invite Nature Energy representatives to that meeting if you want to get all those questions answered. Or I can reach out to the public utility and ask them what their questions are in advance so that we know what kind of questions they have. From the very beginning, I have provided them with the utility needs of a future plant. So they are aware of those. I think now is just kind of like, how do we meet that? How do we make this work? and just make sure the council and the public utility are on the same page for this project. You want me to reach out to them, or Warren, if you want to, at your public utility meeting to try to set something up? We can reach out to Nature Energy and to see what their schedule is, still, as this moves forward.
I think we're at the point that even without Nature Energy, it's been a while since we've had a joint meeting with the PUC, and we should just
Do it.
discuss things along with Nature Energy anyway, so.
So we could set a joint meeting and invite them as one of the agenda items.
Right.
Yeah.
And
That's
then
kind
have other items that you may want to talk about, or they may want to update you as a group on.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I would like to see anyway.
So what I will do is I will float some dates to them, and I'll keep all you in there, and we'll find a date that'll work.
Okay.
Okay.
We have no new business. That brings us to our consent agenda. Schedule of claims, unpaid claims of $249,762.55. Paid claims, here is the price change that I had mentioned before, is $26,147.44 for a total of $275,909.99. April checks, paid claims, payroll, $552,741.85. June 30th, all the liquor licenses are up for renewal. To date, the following applicants have sent us the appropriate paperwork completed and fee paid. Next Door Bar, Bear Trap, Mustang, Old Course Sauk Center, Mezcal, LLC, American Legion Post 67, the Palmer House, Crazy J's Bar and Grill, Westside Liquor, Walmart Incorporated, and Sisters Beer, Wine, and Spirits. Also, by June 30th, the on-off sale 3-2 beer licenses are up for renewal. As to date, these following applicants have the appropriate paperwork completed. That's Isaac's North Star, Colburn's, and Truckers Inn Truck Stop. Also by June 30th, the cigarette licenses are up for renewal. The appropriate paperwork has been completed and fee has been paid for these stops. Next Door Bar, Westside Liquor, Bear Trap, Mustang Bar, Colburn's, Sauk Center Fleet Supply, Casey's, Isaac's North Star, Walmart, Truckers Inn Truck Stop, Northdale Oil, Sisters Beer, Wine, and Spirits, Holiday Station Stores, Crazy J's Bar and Grill, Sauk Center Tobacco LLC, and Sauk Center Tobacco Incorporated. We have a request from Jessica Mossman from Crazy J's Bar and Grill for a temporary extension of premise permit and alley closure for an outdoor band on June 10th from 1 p.m. to 12:30 a.m. The alley closure request is for the area behind Crazy J's and Sauk Center Herald. We also have an assembly permit request from Deb Holt for a Corpus Christi procession to be held on June 11th at Our Lady of Angels. About 200 people are expected to attend. The procession will be from Our Lady of Angels Church down Ash Street to St. Paul's Church and back down Birch Street. We have a gambling application for exempt permit request from the Sauk Center Area Chamber of Commerce for a raffle for July 9th, 2023 at the American Legion Post 67. We have 5 requests from Scott Kowski representing the American Legion Post. One is for an application and permit for a one-day temporary on-sale liquor license for the beer garden during Sinclair Lewis Days in Sinclair Lewis Park on July 14th. Another one is for an application and permit for a 4-day temporary on-sale liquor license during the Stearns County Fair from July 26th to the 29th. Also, an application and permit for a 1-day temporary on-sale liquor license during the Stearns County Fair for July 30th. And a application and permit for a 3-day temporary on-sale liquor license at the Stearns County Fairgrounds for August 25th and 26th, 2023. And a request for a temporary extension of an outdoor liquor permit for the term of 1 day on October 7th, 2023 for a 5K run and DJ music in the north parking lot from noon to 10 PM. And all the fee and certification of insurance have been provided. Is there any questions on anything in the consent agenda?
I have one question regarding where the CBD license fits in with this schedule.
Where the CBD?
The
You mean the
CB
the
Cannabinoids?
gummies?
Yep, edible.
The edibles are, I believe they're the first of the year. I have to look
Okay,
at that.
so it's not on the same schedule as the
It's
July?
not on the same schedule as the liquor.
Okay,
And then we will be having a new ordinance. It appears quite likely now that the cannabis law will be passed. In fact, I've had people in today wanting to apply for licenses already. And so we'll be having a new license structure for that as well. But, so then the cannabis, the CBD gummy one will probably be repealed and included in the other one.
okay.
So,
Probably following the same schedule, so we can expect it around January?
yeah,
Okay,
we'll see when it comes out.
yeah.
I think the implementation date's actually August 1st.
August 1st, I heard, okay.
Yeah, we have to work fast on that one.
Yeah.
Any other questions, concerns? Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Shellen, second by Heidi. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Informational items.
I have 3 informational items regarding employees that are union employees that will advance according to the union adopted pay scale. Dean Jungles will advance to step 8 on June 13th. Jackson Zenzen will advance to step 4 on June 8th. And Nathan Reynolds will advance to step 3 on June 15th. So these are acknowledgements, but they are bargained into the bargaining unit. So it's not anything that I need action on. It's informational.
Any questions about the informational items? That brings us to the end of our agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by
I'll
Joe,
second.
second by Diane. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Meeting adjourned.